Does this work?
I think that's going to be the number one priority at this point. After you get the engines, and I was, as you mentioned earlier in the broadcast,
What are you trying to see?
I was on the middeck, did not have a window. But as soon as we got the main engine cut off and I was able to unstrap and get my bearings, I floated up to the flight deck and looked out the window. And we had a very early morning flight on that first, very early morning. It's still dark out when we launched into the sunshine. And by the time we got to that main engine cut off, I was able to get up to the window. We were over the Indian Ocean, and it was just absolutely magnificent, the most beautiful sight I've ever seen. So I think that's going to be priority number one once they get a chance to gander out there and take a look, especially for Victor being his first flight.
I was going to say, I can only imagine what Victor is experiencing right now. So cool. Christian Davenport is on the balcony at Cape Canaveral, had a wonderful view of the launch. Christian, give us a status update.
Yeah, I mean, it was a beautiful launch and all is going well. This is exactly what we had hoped for. It seemed like we were getting a lot of curveballs thrown at us. The weather, the pandemic, the engine issues, the seal on the hatch, but this is what you hope for. This is all good, and I can't help but think how this is just such a momentous day for SpaceX, and what an incredible story for this company that Elon Musk founded in 2002. I mean, initially, his whole thought was to generate a lot of interest in space and just get people enthusiastic, as he says, get people fired up about space so that NASA can get more money to help fund a Mars mission. And now, fast forward all these years, and Elon Musk and SpaceX are the provider of transportation to space for the United States government. They were once sort of a Silicon Valley startup that is now a mainstream player, alongside with Boeing, which is the other provider in this commercial crew program. They've had some problems. Everyone thought they would be the ones launching people first. They would be the ones to be certified first. But no, instead it's Elon Musk and SpaceX. He's controversial, he's brash. I think a lot of people have various opinions about him, but you cannot deny what they have been able to accomplish. And tonight is yet another example of that, Chris.
Thanks, Christian. And David Curley, I imagine that maybe they're not breathing an entire sigh of relief at Mission Control, but they're at least able to exhale. The launch went very, very well. The mission is off to a great start. What's the atmosphere down from where you're standing?
Oh, there was a lot of applause as they got into their nominal orbital insertion. And what's happened now is that the capsule, which was headed up into space, the nose cone actually opens, and there are 4 engines there. And they're basically going to turn it around so that their nose is pointing backwards. And that's how they will do their phasing burns as they raise their altitude to get closer and closer to the space station. A couple things to think about in the next couple of hours that are going to happen here. One is they're going to have to do a little bit of choreography because they're going to get out of their pressure suits and get into their regular clothes. So who's going to go first? Probably only one at a time. I would guess one of the flight engineers, either Soichi Noguchi or Shannon Walker, would be the first or second to go, and then the commander and the pilot will be able to change their clothes. They've got a 27-hour trip, so there will be a sleep period in there. So they're going to do the choreography of how do 4 people actually sleep in the Dragon. This is the first time we've had 4 people in the Dragon on a trip to the space station. So that'll be very interesting. And then I want to talk about one other little thing. When they finally do get to the station, it'll be a full complement of astronauts. 2 Russians are there. In fact, they're doing a spacewalk in a couple of days. And there will be 5 Americans. The first time in a long time we've had that many Americans on the space station. And that's kind of a problem, too, because there are only 4 berths to sleep in on the space station right now. So Mike Hopkins, who's the commander, is going to sleep in the Dragon capsule until NASA brings up some additional sleeping quarters. Scott Kelly once said that sometimes they put them on what is basically the floor of the space station, and as you float over them, they kind of look like coffins. They call them the coffins if you have an extra berth up there. So sleeping arrangements will be interesting, especially when Crew-2 comes up and you add another 4 astronauts. I talked to one of the astronauts who's on in the commercial crew program, and she said, we may have to go back
Bobby,
and
look
ask
on
you
the
know
back.
about this to the shuttle base and just